If you love urban romance, then you know these books will entertain you, but they'll also make you stop and feel something. My name is Raquel. I talk about all things Black books. Welcome and welcome back. So, in today's video, we're going to take it back to some books that we've already talked about. But this time, we're going to go deeper than just the romance. We're going to find out what are these characters carrying. So, let's get into it. The first book is Maybe for the Summer by Aubrey Penn. I enjoyed this book. It was so good. I hate that it took me so long to read it. So you have the main male character whose name is Julius. Julius is a Grammy winning, platinum selling music artist rapper. He's just been dropped from his record label for bad behavior. He's been told, multiple times to get his act together, but he gets into this thing where he's fighting that turns out into an all out brawl. He winds up going to jail. His music label says, you know what? No more. So, with him experiencing mood swings and stress and nervousness and different things like this, it can also affect the way you think, the way you process information, how you react to things. And so, partially because of this, that is due to his behavior. But I don't want to give Julius a pass because he's also into gang activity, which is in his family's history, all the way back to his grandfather. Not only that, uh, Julius is a grown man, and we know the difference between right and wrong. So at this point, he needs to sit down and he's thinking, wow, this doesn't look good. So him and his team is taking a trip to Eastover. Don't know where Eastover is. He's just going to Eastover. It sounds like maybe it's an island or some nice relaxing place where they can pull themselves together. And then we have the main female character whose name is Daisha. Daisha is a young lady who comes from a two-parent household. They own their own business, and she has been climbing the corporate ladder throughout her career. Daisha gets stabbed in the back by a coworker, and now she gets fired. She calls her mom. Her mom says, "Baby, come home. I love you. I got you. You don't need to be there. Come home." So she gets home and she gets with her mom and dad, finds out that their family business has taken a little dive and they have this huge client that they need to take care of. So they're not able to do it. They ask Daisha to do it. Daisha's like, fine, I'm not doing anything. And so Daisha goes to Eastover. What Daisha doesn't know initially is that it is Jay Lucci, which is his rap name. And Jay Lucci is somebody she has been following for a long time. She is into his career. She followed him back when he was a part of a group, and now he is a solo artist. So she knows his mishaps, his ups and downs, his, jail stint, and all these different things. The thing about this is they have two different backgrounds. Daisha coming from corporate means she has a structured background by the book. And Jay Lucci with his drugs and fighting and gangs, that's very scattered all over the place about emotions and what you think. And these two coming together, Daisha is able to add some structure to Jay Lucci's business. She is able to elevate him. She brings a sense of calm to him. Jay Lucci experienced a traumatic event when he was younger, which is probably the trigger for his insomnia and anxiety. But together, they are able to make this work. So for Deja, having that structured background, she feels free when she's working with Jay Lucci because she is structured, I guess, by nature, but it gives her more freedom to just be. And with Jay Lucci, he needs that structure, he needs consequence, he needs focus and direction. And together, these two become great. I love this story, and I love that she's spotlighted anxiety and insomnia. Those are things that we hear a lot about. Well, I hear a lot about insomnia, but excuse me, anxiety, but I don't hear a lot about insomnia, which in some cases insomnia triggers anxiety and also PTSD in people. And so I love this underlying fact that she added to the book. Don't get me wrong, I love the romance, but when you give me a book with the romance and an underlying theme with a much bigger issue, it's just hitting on that 5 star for me. And next we have Finally Famous by Lady Nisha. And in this one, she is talking about betrayal. Some of the attributes or effects of betrayal would be intrusive thoughts, guilt, shame, mood swings, stress. There is a lot that happens to you internally when someone betrays you. It almost sometimes feel like your fault. Like, what did I do? It's not on the person who's been betrayed, it is actually on the betrayer. But our mind gets a little twisted in these situations sometimes. So this is about a guy named Rollo and his two good friends. So Bruce is a friend and Deuce is his best friend. Now all three of these guys grow up from little kids together. They play together, they talk, they hang out, they struggle together because they come from very humble beginnings. So Rollo has always been a rapper since he was a kid, and they would talk about what's going to happen when he hits it big. So, of course, when I hit it big, I'm going to take all my homeboys, I'm going to put you on. When I get big, I'm going to buy my mama a house, the when I get big story, all of that. So, excuse me, something happens, and Deuce winds up going to involuntary vacation, um, jail. And when he gets out, Rollo is finally famous. And so, just by Deuce's attitude that he's feeling away. Now, I don't know if he's feeling away because he wasn't there, if he's feeling away because it's not him and it's Rollo, but he's definitely feeling away. Even though he is reaping the benefits, I mean, full benefits of his friend's celebrity status and money. But you can still tell Rollo feels away. Now, him and Bruce don't get along very well. They go back and forth a lot. So this one night they go to a club, and a young lady comes over to take their drink orders, and Rollo says some slick comment to her, and Taylor's not the one because she gives it as good as the next person. And so they get into this nasty back and forth, which Rollo doesn't say anything, but he is attracted to Taylor. Um, and this is when you kind of really see where Rollo's attitude is. And so they go through this back and forth, and Rollo invites Taylor to come have a drink. She says no, thank you, even though she thinks he's nice and she thinks Deuce is a butthole. She goes on about her business. Something pops off in the club, and she winds up with Rollo in her car, and they wind up having a conversation. So with friends and family, fame, money, and status. Betrayal is the most likely thing to happen. You cannot buy love, friendship, or any of those things. It is for monetary purposes, not emotional. And so I don't know that Rollo realizes that it is kind of what he does, but I think for him, he just wants to bring everybody along, and you can't always do that. So Rollo winds up with these same feelings, shame, guilt, and mood swings because he's realizing that the people that he loves most have betrayed him. It is really a very sad story for somebody to love on you and care for you, even though you haven't treated them very well. And I'm not just talking about Deuce, because there are some people who, excuse me, there are multiple people who betray Rollo. And unfortunately, they take his kindness for weakness. This is a great book. I never stop thinking about this book. Whenever I start to think of some of my favorite books. Finally Famous is always in there. When I think about five-star books, I think of Finally Famous. I love this book. There is so much more going on than I could explain, especially I've already done a video on this book, so I didn't want to get too deep into it. I just wanted to talk about the betrayal. And, excuse me. Next, we are going to get into Till I Say When by Natisha Rayner. Now, in this one, she explores addiction. And addiction, excuse me, in addiction, we have memory loss, mood swings, emotional numbness, and that's just some of it. There are so many things that come along with addiction. So we have a character whose name is Wonder. Wonder is a young lady who has just gotten out of a very toxic relationship. She is physically, emotionally, and mentally spent. And in order to cope with this, she decides to take on this liquid drug. She was originally doing it, recreationally, but once she gets to the point where she also has insomnia and anxiety, she's using it to cope with these feelings, to sleep, to not think about the things that has happened to her. And um, she is an entrepreneur. She has a shop where she wraps cars and she's trying to expand her business. So as she's going along trying to get through the rest of her life, you have this guy named Wild who comes along. Now, Wild is a self proclaimed butthole and he likes to get under the skin. At this particular time, he wants to get under Wonder's ex boyfriend's skin. And he's going to use Wonder to do it. Wonder has also witnessed something, wrong place, wrong time, and now she's a witness. And he is using that to blackmail her. So he says to her, I want you to pretend to be my girlfriend. We're going to be seen out. We're going to go out. We're going to be hugged up. We're going to do all of the girlfriend boyfriend things while we're in public. And she says, for how long? And he says, until I say when. I love that. That is such a cool title. But when I first heard it, I was kind of like, till I say when? What is that about? Anyways, this is to annoy and get under the skin of her ex boyfriend. Now, while he's trying to get under the skin of her ex boyfriend, this is putting her life in danger because these are rival gang members. And um, he has another issue going on. Somebody unalived his cousin, and so his family is determined to find out who did this. And I believe that they think it has something to do with her ex. And so she's got this addiction going on. She's trying to hide it from him. She's trying to hide it from her family. She even steals from her boyfriend, even though she doesn't call it stealing. But these are some of the things that happens when you're addicted. You take things that don't belong to you. You try to rationalize why you do some of the things that you do that you knew you shouldn't have. It numbs, your emotional state. So you can be hurting somebody, but it doesn't mean as much to you if you weren't in this position. And so I'm glad that she was able to put this in the book. One of the reasons is because Wonder is so young. In my head, sometimes I think, how could you be so young and be into drugs? And then at the same time, you'll say, well, this person is old enough, when they're an older person, old enough to know better. But usually there is some underlying trauma. There is a big reason where they felt like they could not cope or they could not go through this. They need something to numb the feelings, something to stop them from thinking about it or whatever. And this is how she chose to get over that. The great thing about this is that she does get to a point where she's able to recognize that she has a problem and then work on that problem. So if you never recognize that it's a problem and you're continuously thinking that it's recreational and I can stop whenever I want to, but never actually stopping, then it's a bigger problem than you even know. So I love this book. This one was another one that I really, really enjoyed. I also did a video review on this book. But I did say we're going to go back to books that we've already been to before. But these are some of my favorite books. I love these books, even though a couple of them are kind of new. Some of them are old to me, and some of them are new. Like Pour Me a Cup of Something Stronger Than Myself. This is a book that I recently read, and it is by Terica Loggins. Now, Terica Loggins, this was my first time reading her books. This was the first book. And this one, she touches on a lot of things. She touches on abandonment, drug misuse, promiscuity, grief. Um, I mean, she has a lot going on in this book. Actually, all of them do. But on this one, I chose to um, focus on abandonment. And the reason why is the main female character, her name is Gently. Gently is a young lady who lives with her drug addicted mother and her three sisters. So there are four girls. And once they get a certain age, I think in this book, Gently is like 16, 17 years old. She has a younger sister and two older sisters. So when they all get a certain age, the mom sits them down and say, hey, look, I'm only going to provide for you a place to live. Everything else, you got to go out there and make it happen on your own. You got a pot of gold between your legs, and you should never be without. So the two older daughters say, you know what? This ain't my thing. They graduate high school, go off to college, and never look back. Gently and her younger sister. So the younger sister, Lexus, I believe her name is, winds up having a baby at no, not Lexus, I'm sorry. Genesis winds up having a baby at like 12 years old, and she kind of doesn't take care of the child. She leaves it with any and everybody but she's a baby having a baby. I mean, 12, like, I think I still have ponytails at 12. So I don't, that's really, really young for a baby. Anyways, so like I said, it's a lot. There's teenage pregnancy as well as everything else I said. So Gently is 16, 17 years old. She's a pretty girl. She uses her looks to get what she wants. So it's a lot of her being out and about with different guys, being promiscuous, drinking, going to parties, hanging out with her cousins. It's just a lot of that stuff. But the main thing here is that her abandonment shows up like promiscuity. Um, I think that she is detached and doesn't see it for what it is. And that's not really hard to do at 16 with no guidance. Although her mother is physically there, she has not been there for them emotionally, spiritually, or financially. And that is huge. Abandonment will linger on in a person's life forever. It is something that will constantly be in the back of their heads. So, unfortunately, there is a huge tragedy that happens with one of her best cousins, Clover. And this actually is the end of the book, but it starts off a new book, which is Gently's book, and how she has changed her life, the things that she has to go through in order to change her life. This was a great story. It was fairly short. I think it was 99 pages. I know it wasn't 100, so I'm going to say 99. But it was a great book. I'm going to have to check out more of Terica Loggins to see what she's talking about. But this abandonment causes low self esteem, anxiety, depression, um, shame. I mean, it will bring up so many feelings. Excuse me. And a lot of this is shown in Gently. The thing is, we probably see it a lot of times. We just don't recognize it as being abandonment because it can come off as so many other different things. And then, last but not least, one of the books that I have read recently that I totally have fallen in love with, have every intention of reading this book again. It is called Tangled Hearts. It is by Evelyn Latrice. I just recently talked about this book maybe 2 weeks ago or so. But this one has a lot going on in it as well, but I'm going to focus on the male abuse survivor. So you have the male main character, which we have two male main characters. We have two female main characters. So you have Hove, Rock, and then you have Nicole and Noor. Now, Hove and Rock are best friends. Noor and Nicole are best friends, and Nicole and Hove are best friends as well. Nicole and Hove, although all of these kids have known each other, from school and all of that good stuff, Nicole and Hove have known each other the longest. They um, have this bond that was created out of trauma. And so Hove would show up at Nicole's house battered and beaten as a little boy, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. And Nicole would be home alone and hungry, and they would comfort each other. And this goes on for years until Hove is able to take care of himself. Hove, I believe, is a year or two older than Nicole. He drops out of school, and now he is making money on the streets. So Rock and Hove pretty much care for Nicole. They make sure she has the things that she needs as far as clothes, food, Hope walks her to school when she doesn't have a ride. They encourage her, they uplift her, they push her because her ultimate goal is to be a nurse and to live a better life than the one she currently lives. And so one day, Nicole needs some personal items. She decides that she doesn't want to leave the house. She asks her dad for some money, and he says no. She goes, gets the money anyway, and it creates a huge problem that she's never experienced with her father before. Hove comes up and he witnesses it, and boy, not a good scene. I always talk about well, I talked about this particular scene in the last one as well because this is a very prominent scene in the book. It is the scene that kind of changes the trajectory of the story, at least one of them, because there are some other things that happen. But I think that this is a main point that actually changes the first change in the story. Can I say that? And with Hove's issues, his behavior issues, trust issues, intimate issues, boundaries, um, perfectionist behaviors. Like all of this stuff comes from the misuse he had experienced when he was a young boy. I hate that this happened, but it caused him to latch on to Nicole. And him and Nicole have this extraordinary bond that is deeper than brother and sister. They love each other. I love the story because it shows so many different dynamics between these four people. It shows Nicole being like a mother figure to Hove. It shows her being a little girl, vulnerable and needing her father. It shows her needing a woman figure in her life and then at some points getting that for a very short period, but she does get it. And it, helps her to solidify that she wants more. I enjoyed this book so much. Definite 5 star. If I could give it 6 stars, it would be a 6 star. I love this book. It was not initially an easy book to read, but the more I read it, the more I got into it until I could not put it down. Have you ever picked up a book and said one more hour and it turned into 3 a.m., and you need to get up at 5? This is that book. It is so good. But yeah, I definitely wanted to touch on the male abuse because that is not something that is often talked about, at least not at length. Men generally will keep their misuse to themselves. If they do plan to tell somebody, it'll probably be one person very close to them. They don't tend to go to therapists as much as women do. And Hove didn't actually do bad. He's actually a good guy. I really like Hove. I don't like Rock as much, but I really, really like Hove. He is a stand up guy, really, a stand up guy. So that is the 5 books that I wanted to dive just a little bit deeper into. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have read any of these books or if there are any books on your radar that dove deeper than just the romance. I'd love to read it. Um, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and do all of the YouTube things like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next time, see you soon.